is getting us all set up on all of our other platforms. So we appreciate you tuning in on Facebook. I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone, make sure my volume's down, because that was a fun surprise.
Yeah.
We're live everywhere. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to pull up this Facebook Live on my phone so I can get all of your comments and things like that. Oh, hey, you're watching with me. Thanks for watching.
Gotta get 2 viewers at least.
2 whole people are watching. Oh, it's us. Oh, no, we have 67. We should probably start talking. All right, hey, guys. So if you've been watching KVUE all day, which we hope you have, we have been dedicating all of our coverage today to the homeless population. It's our homeless struggle on the streets. It's been from daybreak to midday to the 5 and 6, and now, of course, the 10 o'clock show. So that's why we have Patrick Perez here. He's going to be able to hang out with us for at least a little bit. We've been talking about some possible solutions. We've been talking with city leaders, police, all that fun stuff. But we've also been talking about different kind of segments of the homeless population. Yeah. And you're addressing one of those tonight that we haven't really been able to discuss much. So tell me about what you're talking about tonight.
Yeah, so specifically tonight I'm talking about homeless LGBTQ youth. It's something I reported on in college, and I thought for this project it'd be so good to report on it again. It was Molly's idea, really, but then I kind of expanded on it. So, you know,
he did all the work.
I wouldn't call it that much, but you know, here in Austin, we don't really have an official number for how many homeless LGBTQ youth there are out there, because there are several reasons behind this. And it's not something that you would typically think about when you're discussing this, but I spoke with Out Youth, with Catherine Gonzalez. She works with Out Youth, and I spoke with them today, and they told me that pretty much homeless LGBTQ youth don't often identify themselves as homeless. And what the case is that they're actually staying with friends or family, or they're couch surfing. So because of that reason, because they have like a roof over their heads every single night, depending on the night, they don't call themselves homeless, because they don't consider themselves to be stereotypically homeless. When we think of, you know, someone who's homeless, we maybe think of them as sleeping on the streets or sleeping under an overpass and stuff like that, but they're not in those situations.
So what that sounds like is, and I did a story, one of my stories today was with the Salvation Army and SAFE, and they had discussed the hidden homeless
exactly.
population.
I actually brought them up. I brought that up during an interview today. I'm like, we've discussed this in the newsroom about like invisible homeless people.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
And so for those of you that may have missed the story at 5, it is on our website right now. But, you know, we have this point in time count that we see every year. And for those of you that don't know, it's basically when a group of people and different organizations and volunteers go out and kind of scour Travis County, and they count how many homeless people are in the area. And this year, it was 2,255. It was about a 6% increase from what we saw last year. And you got to consider some of the population increase with that.
Right.
But the Salvation Army was saying that wow, that's obviously a large number. There's even a larger number out there called the hidden homeless. And those are people you don't see, like you said, on the sidewalks, under overpasses. Those are people who are living in their cars, couch surfing, living in motels, garages, finding office buildings, storage spaces, things like that they can kind of just tuck away safely for the night. And oftentimes, another population you see in that are families. Because that's a lot of times either a mom with kids or a dad with kids, and they're trying to give their kids still a sense of normalcy. So they don't have them under the overpasses or the sidewalks. They have them kind of couch hopping, like you said, trying to give them some idea of safety. And then really what Corey Leith with the Salvation Army had said was that population, when you have a family homelessness, it affects 2 generations, because you have the mom or the dad or both who are suffering through it, and then you have the kids who that's really all they've ever known. So then that sometimes leads to future problems as well, and kind of furthering that homelessness. So I know they've been really working to end that cycle, so to speak. We've been reporting on homelessness in Austin all day, and really for the past couple of months. I mean, it's something that I know I've talked with you about this, that while it's definitely been the hot topic over the summer,
for sure.
It's not something that's new to the area. You, if I'm remembering correctly, had covered some of the stuff from like the governor and things like that. Do you want to talk about kind of that? Because that deadline, that November 1st, is coming up in a couple of weeks. So we have a lot of pressure on the city right now.
Exactly. So Governor Abbott, as of this point, has written two letters to the city of Austin, specifically Austin Mayor Steve Adler and the city council, telling them in really simple terms that if they don't fix this problem, that he's going to step in come November 1st and fix the problem himself with the help of state agencies. Now, what does that help look like? He hasn't really been too specific about it in either of the 2 letters that he's written, but he has kind of shown a few examples of what agencies may potentially participate in this sort of, I guess, cleanup effort around the city of Austin. But I know tomorrow the city council is supposed to maybe make a vote or take some action on
some kind of action, and
proposed
that's
ordinance.
the law. The closer we get to tomorrow, the more options are being proposed.
Yeah,
and
right now on the table, I think there are 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, if my count is correct, which I'll be studying all of tonight because we've really been focusing on this deep dive today. So I've got some homework to do
So we'll see what happens, because again, November 1st is right around the block, and so I think Governor Abbott is really being clear. You have until then to fix this, or else.
And let's be clear. I mean, I don't know if any of us believe that it's going to be completely fixed by November 1st. That would take some sort of miracle.
Yeah, it would take a lot of resources too. I mean,
that we just don't have.
Especially in the way that Governor Abbott, I think primarily his concern is cleaning up like the camps, the homeless camps,
and he's talked about like the feces and the kind of gross stuff on the sidewalks, you know, the needles, things like that. That public health and safety concern is what he pushed a lot. And he even talked about Chief Manley saying a couple weeks ago of, hey, we told council and the mayor we want these ordinances put back in place until there's a solution.
Exactly.
So we've heard from our police chief, we've heard from the governor, we've heard from city council, mayor. I mean, there's a lot of people who are throwing their hats in this ring, and everyone kind of seems to have something to say. We just haven't seen solutions yet.
And even with Manley, like he was, like the process with him is a little delayed too when it comes to removing like the mattresses and furniture out of the camps, because so what? I forgot the assistant chief's name. Maybe Joe something. I forgot his last name. Chacon, there we go. So I spoke with APD Assistant Chief Joe Chacon last week, and he pretty much told me that they can't enforce, because now Manley, what he wants to do is clean up the camps and remove some of these mattresses. Because
that's their partnership with Austin Resource Recovery they've been working on,
But the issue with that is, so when Austin police arrives to one of these camps, they themselves don't have the resources to remove these mattresses and furniture and stuff like that, but neither does Austin Resource Recovery. So there's a bit of a delay into when they can remove these things, and so they're kind of relying on the people that they encounter to be compliant and remove the stuff themselves. But even then, I think last week, Assistant Chief Chacon says they just can't enforce that at the moment.
Well, and let's remember, as far as compliance goes, when I've talked to Assistant Chief Newsom, he said and this is back in the summer when these ordinances first went in place. I've done a couple of walkarounds with him into homeless camps, which was enlightening and honestly inspiring, talking to some of the homeless people there. Some of them are some of the nicest people I've ever met, to be pretty blunt right there. But he had said that as far as prior to those ordinance changes, they had, I think, like 98% compliance. If they would ever ask somebody to, hey, you can't camp here, hey, you can't be lying on this sidewalk, and things like that. So they've had that compliance before. It's just, I don't know about that compliance as far as like cleaning up things, because Chief Manley had said like the issue of like lice and things like that can be found in these mattresses and furniture that's meant to be inside a home when it's outside.
That was the biggest concern. And so even Assistant Chief Chacon says if we don't get compliance, we're likely going to have to issue citations. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they want to do that. They do want to have 100% compliance. But we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. But again, tonight, so I'm talking about homeless LGBTQ youth just very briefly in the show. Obviously, Molly's been putting together this whole day-long special that she's been working really hard on.
I don't know if they know that yet. Surprise.
But I do have one small part of there. I want to give some really interesting statistics.
Yeah, let's hear more about your piece.
Homeless LGBTQ youth. So if you didn't know, according to the Trevor Project, they make up about 40% of the homeless youth population nationwide. And I know at the beginning I mentioned we don't really have a clear number of how many there are in Austin, only because only a select few of them self-identify as homeless, but some of them either aren't telling anyone or they don't consider themselves to be homeless. But of those 40% nationwide, about 60% of them will likely try to kill themselves, which is really unfortunate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just really horrible to hear, and so that's why, you know, every single homeless person, every single person who is homeless or experiencing homelessness is just as important. But it's important to also remember these more vulnerable populations.
Well, we got to remember, and I think that's something that's been frustrating for me as someone who consistently covers this topic, is that I feel like some people, like, well, I know there's a divide, and I get it. It's frustrating. There's no simple solution. But we got to remember these are people, too, guys. Like, and it's, you know, we say like the homeless population and things like that, people experiencing homelessness, however you want to put it.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it's people. We're people, they're people. We all have different stories. We all have our own past trauma and things like that. But before you go on, I do want to remind you guys, please submit any questions. You keep seeing me probably look down at my phone. I'm trying to go through your comments to see if you have any questions for us about whether it's about Patrick's story, because I do want to let him go to get back to work, but I'll stay here and kind of answer your questions about our coverage that's been happening throughout the day and that will continue happening, or even my coverage that's been happening over the summer and the past couple of months. But do you have any other stats that you want to share with us?
I think that's it. Obviously, tune into the 10 o'clock show for this story, and then Molly has a story also about Community First.
Yes, that's my 10 o'clock story. Yeah. I'm trying to remember which story goes in which show, but yeah, Community First will be at 10.
So we have a lot for you guys tonight at 10. Really, it's the last piece of this day-long special, Our Homeless Struggle in the Streets, so make sure you tune in for that. But I'm going to leave now and let Molly continue with her talk here and answer some of your questions.
Okay.
So hopefully if you do, make sure you either tweet at her or send them through Facebook so she can answer some of them. Thanks so much, Molly.
Yeah.
See you later.
Don't forget to unmic.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to walk away and just close.
So I'm going to read some of your comments. Pamela's saying that we should do some real reporting when we're not in designer clothes. All right, well, Pamela probably doesn't see most of my reporting, which is when I'm in a polo and jeans and sneakers every day.
Wait, what did she say?
She said to do some real reporting when we aren't in designer clothes.
I don't know how to respond to that. Designer clothes is probably, it's not even mine. So.
Well, if you've missed some of my coverage from before, I mean, typically I would say I'm showing up with my hair up, no makeup on, in a polo shirt and jeans and sneakers, and I've gone through the homeless camps. I've gone into multiple homeless camps. I've gone underneath into tunnels. I've gone inside of shelters. I've traveled to San Antonio to do coverage of their city and how they're helping the homeless. So definitely don't always look this nice, and I feel like my coworkers can speak to that as well. Brittany's laughing at me right now, so I'm thinking that's an agreement.
I'm just thinking there's a picture of you laying on the floor.
There are some pictures of me laying on the floor this week. It's been stressful planning all of this. I had on my Converse in that one, and my hair was up in a ponytail, yeah. In the messy bun, yes. All right, sorry, I'm trying to read all of your stories here. Jan's asking me if I had a chance to ride around with Deputy Angus from Travis County Precinct 3. He deals with homeless. I actually have not, Jan. Most of my walk-arounds have been with Assistant Chief Justin Newsom with the Austin Police Department. And I've gone around with some of the other district rep officers as well. I think I've done 4 or 5 walking arounds into homeless camps. We have a policy that we're not allowed to do ride-alongs, so we can't be in the cars with police or on boats or really anything, but I am allowed to go walk around with them into the homeless camps. That's really all I've been able to do up until this point, but it has been pretty enlightening when I've gone in there and I've gotten to sit and talk to the people who are experiencing homelessness and hear their stories. And some people have told me that they do like this that lifestyle. They want to stay homeless. They don't want help. They don't want to go to a shelter. Other people have had bad experiences at shelters, so they just really don't trust the system anymore. And other people have had medical bills or jobs, either medical bills they couldn't afford to pay or jobs that they were fired from or they lost for whatever reason, and they're just trying to get back on their feet, and they're just really struggling. And some people are just really inspiring and really want to work hard and just get off the street, and a lot of people are just frustrated because they've been on a wait list for a shelter for so long. So while we're all looking ahead to that vote, potential vote, I guess, tomorrow, we also have to remember that this is not going to be an overnight change. There really is no simple solution to it, and that after this potential vote, we still as a city, and we're all obviously looking to council for this, but need to address affordable housing. That's something that affects all of us here in Austin and in the outskirts as well now. Mental health, substance abuse help for the people experiencing homelessness, and I mean, there's just a lot to tackle in all of this. We need more space in shelters. We need more shelters. So deciding where to put those. I know there's been a lot of back and forth behind that South Austin shelter. And then I know some of the council members have talked about putting a shelter in every council district. So, and the mayor had said if that happens, that'll be something that I believe he visits pretty consistently each one to make sure that we don't see something like the Arch downtown happen again in each of these council districts. And obviously they're kind of revamping the Arch right now and how that's going to work. But it's just a lot of solutions that we're still waiting to see put into place or see council take some action on. So of course all eyes are really on tomorrow, and that'll hopefully be the jumping off point to where we go next. Yeah, Stefan's saying the wait for housing takes long as well. Case management is helping people get the proper documentation done to get into housing instead of being stuck. And that's something that I know people have been frustrated about. There was one guy that I talked to, Michael, I believe his name was, the other day. Oh man, he just, I like smile thinking about him because he was just the nicest guy, and he really made, I had a really bad day and he just made my day talking to him for just 5 minutes, turned my whole day around. But he had said he was on the wait list for like 4 years. But it was really exciting because when I talked to him, he had just found out that he had been approved for housing, and he had his meeting coming up in a couple of days. I believe Echo connected him with an apartment that he could get into, so that was exciting to see him get to move ahead on that step. And I know he said that was something that he'd been waiting for a really long time. Lisa Lynn said the host team is doing some really good work. I actually have been out with the host team. I guess that was another walk around I did. So for those of you who don't know, host is Homeless Outreach Street Team. It's a combination of EMS, police, and integral care. So it's a couple of different organizations teaming up and trying to give a direct, like, face-to-face relationship with these the homeless people, and getting to really know them on a first-name basis, help get them treatment, help organize medicine, try to help them get into housing or get appointments for housing. When I went out with them, they were trying to get one woman an appointment to talk with Community First or try to get involved in that. And you'll hear more about Community First and their expansion coming up tonight at 10, so that'll be exciting. While some more of you submit your questions and kind of keep asking them, I want to go over some of the stuff that's also going to be addressed at 10. If you've been watching today, we've been having timelines or some form of timeline in each show. Bob, who's our special projects producer, he actually worked on a history of homelessness, and I've got some notes here about it. He said the homeless population in Austin really grew after an economic downturn that we saw in Austin in the mid-1980s. And that's when he says the city formed what's believed to be the first homeless task force. So they recommended 5 steps at that point to address the needs of homeless, which include the question of where to house those who are living on the streets. And that's a question we're still seeing today. And that's been a big question and topic of conversation in council in the past couple of months. So we'll probably and likely hear about some more housing ideas tomorrow when they discuss more at that council meeting. He said homeless population grew more in the 1990s, and attitudes kind of changed because they saw there was pressure from the business community. City council voted to ban homeless camping, panhandling, and sitting or lying. So the 1990s are when we first really saw those ordinances come into play. And of course, these ordinances were a major topic this summer when city council voted to change those, and then those went into the new ones, or the changes went into place on July 1st. And that's really when we saw this hot topic kind of pop up, because obviously we know this homeless conversation, the homeless population, has been here for decades, right? I mean, it wasn't like it just all of a sudden city council voted and they changed ordinances and like that. Homeless people started showing up. Well, they have become more visible. I think we can all agree on that. Even the mayor said so. And we did see that slight increase over the past year on the point in time count, but the mayor is saying he does not think that's because of the ordinance change. And of course, the point in time count was done in January, and so that's when they saw that increase. But that has been something that people are talking about, is ever since those ordinances changed, we heard the topic of conversation of homelessness has become really one of the big debates here in the city. I'm trying to make sure. Brittany, do you see any questions that I'm missing? I know a lot of you are commenting, so I'm trying to keep up with everything. Which one?
About why can't buildings that sit vacant be used?
That is, okay, so somebody, was it Elma? Yeah. Alma, okay. Oh, Alma just, why can't some of these buildings that sit vacant and for sale be bought, or some of the city may own, be turned into something that could help the homeless have a place to go? That's something that I've actually discussed with some police officers when I've been walking around with them. Obviously, they're not the ones making those decisions, but they brought up that idea. And I want to say the mayor has actually discussed that with me as well. So this is something that has been discussed by council, if I'm remembering correctly. I've had a lot of conversations with them, and I know the mayor was looking at that. So that may be an option we hear more about tomorrow in the meeting. And I have some more of your questions printed out, so I'll try to answer a few more and then take off so I can finish up some work as well. But I'll also jump back on all these Facebook Lives, so feel free to keep commenting questions or message me directly. Molly Oak, it's pretty simple. Just click on my Facebook page, shoot me a message there, and I'll get back to you, because this has kind of been what my coverage has been for the past couple of months. So happy to offer any answers that I can, but I definitely don't have all the answers. So let's see, I'm trying to see. So somebody on Twitter had asked us if there are any cities with success stories. What are those cities doing, and can we learn from them? We've heard from some success stories. I mean, San Antonio is one here in Texas that says they've been pretty successful with their homeless population. We actually did a full series 3 weeks ago. Everything's running together at this point. But I traveled to San Antonio this summer and talked with the city and talked with a big campus there, Haven for Hope, which a lot of you have mentioned, which houses just I think around 1,700 homeless people. It's a massive campus. They also have an outdoor sleeping space for safe sleeping for people who aren't ready to get into a shelter or kind of tackle case management just yet. They just want some place to be safe and have food and get clean clothes and use the bathroom and things like that. And they can also store their stuff there as well. So that's something we discussed. And then we also talked to Councilmember Kathy Tovo about the likelihood of seeing something like that here in Austin. Because San Antonio did see a decrease in their homeless population between this year and last. But Tovo said that we likely wouldn't see a big campus like that come to Austin. She says, from her understanding, she's thinking City Council wants more of the services sprinkled around the city as opposed to one big campus where all those services are. Of course, a lot of people, when they hear about Haven for Hope, they point to Community First Village, and we'll have a huge feature on that tonight at 10 o'clock. They've got some exciting news. They're expanding, so they'll be able to almost, or more than double their intake of people who can live there. I think he said they're going to add, with this expansion, it'll add like more than 300 homes. I think it was 20 some odd acres they're adding. So really big expansion happening at Community First, and they've been doing a lot of good work for our homeless population as well, and helping them really have a community, not only with other homeless people, or formerly homeless people at that point, but also with just community members who want to live there, or people who are using their Airbnbs and things like that. So it's also nice because they don't feel like they're secluded. They're really just welcomed in, because that's what they should be, right? And now I'm checking my other phone to see if we have any questions on here. I think I've kind of knocked out most of these questions throughout the day. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I hope you guys will tune in at 10 o'clock. What? I told you she's a great babysitter. So if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, things like that, feel free to message me. Put them in the comments here. I'll check these throughout the night and try to get onto them either tonight or tomorrow ahead of the council meeting as well. I'll be live tweeting that council meeting, so you can give me a follow there if you want to kind of keep up with what's going on. And then we also have a whole section on our website dedicated to our stories about the homeless population, kvu.com/homeless, right? Awesome. And I hope you guys will tune in at 10 for the remainder of our deep dive into the homeless population here in Austin and some of the solutions, our homeless that struggle on the streets. Again, we're going to have one more show tonight at 10 o'clock. They'll be addressing some different things. You'll hear from Patrick with his LGBTQ homeless population. You'll hear about Community First. You'll hear a bit more about the history of homeless. There may be a few other stories in there too. So I hope you guys will watch. Shoot me any messages if you have any questions. And thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, guys.